Hello there, Lora Cheadle-Life choreographer and purveyor of sparkle. And we today are going to talk about how to connect with the most powerful gift. Let me move me over here. That every woman has inside so you can reclaim your sparkle no matter who you are or what's going on in your life. In less than about 20 minutes, I'm going to teach you my secret for stepping into your power and reclaiming your self-worth so you can stop working so hard and you can start living with enthusiasm and finally be really happy with yourself and your life. The secret that I'm going to teach you really enables you to let go of the need to please so you can be comfortable being who you are. Even if you're a hot mess, even if you are completely overwhelmed by life, or if you doubt your ability to sparkle ever again, these steps, I promise, will help you reclaim your sparkle and be seen for exactly who you are, not for who you think you should be. Now, you, let me switch this thing, are in the right place if you're in some sort of crisis or transition and your insides aren't exactly matching your outsides and you're finding it really difficult to stay positive. You're also in the right place if things are so status quo that you feel like you're kind of dying inside and that you've lost touch with your purpose. When you lose your sparkle, it means that you're living in the brain state of fight, flight, or freeze. And when you live this way, you vacillate between these bursts of determination that you're going to pull yourself together and you jump on this keto diet or whatever it is, and you're like all in for a week or so. And then before you know it, you're frustrated and you give it all up and you think you just want to move to an island and be fat and happy the rest of your life. But in reality, what you end up doing is just binge watching another series on Netflix and drinking a bottle of wine. So if that sounds like you are not alone. It is totally normal. And actually, it is not even your fault. Part of the female condition involves being controlled or silenced through judgment. So if you have ever felt like you were too much or not enough, that means you have been controlled or silenced through judgment. The $49.2 billion diet, fitness, and cosmetic industry and the $13 billion self-help industry are both focused on inundating you with the message that you are broken or fat or wrinkly or gray or ugly and that you need fixing through their product that you have to buy. So please, it is not you, it's them. I don't care if you call it the patriarchy or our culture or just the whole belief system that we are born unworthy and that we have to spend our whole life making ourselves worthy before we can be happy. It's not you. So is it any wonder that you're bitter and resentful and that you sometimes roll around in bed at night going, what happened to my life? I don't even recognize myself. Before I tell you the story of how I lost and then found my sparkle, take 3 long, slow, deep breaths and think about a time in your life when you felt really good, where you were enthusiastic, happy, and you weren't working so hard just to keep it all together. It totally doesn't matter if it was a week ago, a month ago, or years ago, like when you were in high school or college, or even when you were a little girl. Just breathe that feeling in and let it settle in as if you were experiencing it right now. Rest assured, I know the secret on getting you back to that place. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you've been through. You don't need any special skills or any extra hours in the day. The secret is naked self-worth, which you get through, let's see if I can move this, through the 5 steps of FLAUNT. Naked self-worth is the ability to value yourself for who you are, not for who you think you should be. And this means defining success on your own terms and validating yourself instead of seeking approval outside of yourself. It's untangling yourself from the opinions and the drama and the judgment of others and knowing who you are and what you want. When you connect to your naked self-worth, you truly become so solid in yourself and your worth that you will never be thrown for a loop or knocked off your center again. And if you're anything like the women that I work with, you've read books, you maybe grew up watching Oprah, you listen to Hay House Radio or whatever, and you've tried all of these different self-help things. And they work for a little while, but nothing ever significantly changes who you are and how you feel about yourself in your life. That's why naked self-worth is different. It's not self-help. It's something that is inside of you already. All of us are born with naked self-worth. It's just that we've had that connection broken through the routine judgment and criticism of who we are and what we do and what we look like. Naked self-worth and connecting to that truly is your birthright, and you can reclaim it through the 5 proven steps of FLAUNT. Now, I want to tell you my story. I know how this feels because I spent more years than I care to admit in that self-improvement, self-judgment cycle, and I know the kind of internal damage that happens when you're always trying to fix yourself. You may know this story if you read my book, but in law school, I was part of the student law office, and I represented clients before I graduated, and I won the very first case that I ever tried, not out of luck, but out of skill. And while everybody in the student law office was completely blown away with my win, what happened to me during that trial shut me down so completely that I never litigated another case again, ever. Do you want to know what happened? After the judge made the verdict, he called me into his office and he berated me for how I looked, for my long hair, for being young, for being pretty, and he accused me of making opposing counsel look bad in court. Yeah. At the time, I wasn't connected to my naked self-worth. I didn't know how to untangle myself from that abuse of power, and I was not able to own my own worth. In fact, I actually rejected the praise of everybody else, and I hung on to the criticism from that judge. Have you ever had a moment like that where everybody else tells you you did so great or that you look so amazing, but instead of accepting literally everybody else's compliments, you focus on the one person who is telling you something negative about yourself, and you too believe that your butt looks big or whatever it is? That is the classic example of a disconnection from your naked self-worth. And no, you're not alone. It's part of the female condition, remember? Now, naked self-worth works because it is not self-help. It's reestablishing the connection to something that you already have. It is your birthright, and you get it through the 5 steps of FLAUNT. FLAUNT is an acronym for find your fetish, laugh out loud, accept unconditionally, navigate the negative, and trust in your truth. Right now, pull out like a sticky pad or just some regular paper, or take notes on your phone, but don't get distracted by your phone because I'm going to give you 5 challenges as we move through these. Okay, the first step is F, find your fetish. And that's about finding and connecting to the state of uninhibited joy that you experienced as a child. Now, let me ask you a question. It's a trick question. Why do kids play? They play because it's fun. They didn't play to impress somebody or because they should. They play because it's fun, plain and simple. So when was the last time you did something because it was fun? Even self-care. Sometimes we get so locked into thinking that we should do self-care that it's not fun. Challenge number 1, I want you to write this down. Before you go to bed tonight, do something that's fun. Brush your hair. I think that's really fun. Turn on one song and dance or stretch. Read a page, just a page in a book that you love. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just get curious and start figuring out what it looks like to play again. Because many of us have spent so much time taking care of other people that we don't even know anymore. L is laugh out loud. Now, laughing is really good for you and it makes you look better. And I can prove that to you. Have you ever caught sight of yourself in that little video monitoring thing when you check out? Oh my God, and you're scowling and you think, I look like that? Yes, you look like that unless you're laughing. Laughing makes you look better. Think of a time right now when you laughed so hard that you couldn't catch your breath. One of my funniest moments is my mom. After I had given birth to my son, my firstborn, she was in one of those glider rockers holding him, and she had the bottle of, liquid gold breast milk, and she's feeding him. And she leaned forward to do something, and the glider rocker started tipping over, and it tipped over in slow motion. And I was across the room, and this whole event happened in slow motion where she's saving the baby and the chair is going, and she can't spill that liquid gold breast milk. We laughed so hard that our stomachs hurt the next day. Your second challenge is to write down your top 3 funniest moments. They can be moments that happen to you. They can be movies. They can be sitcom moments. It doesn't matter. But this is the first step in the creation of a laughter journal, which is a tool that I use with my coaching clients to help them rewire their brains for more laughter and joy. If you're struggling to think of something funny, when we're done, go Google the Chewbacca Mom YouTube video because I promise it's hysterical. Now notice how just talking and remembering and thinking about laughter made you feel. Maybe you smiled involuntarily or felt more positive. That is what it's like when your brain has been rewired for laughter. And I use intuitive hypnotherapy to help people get there faster. But it literally changes the state of your brain, and you're capable of feeling more joy no matter what is going on around you. The next step, AU, is what I call the golden center of FLAUNT, and it stands for accept unconditionally, which means accepting both yourself and others unconditionally. And yes, that's hard. This is where you untangle yourself from the opinions and the judgments of others, as well as from the voices in your head telling you you're not good enough or smart enough or thin enough or whatever it is for you. It's about recognizing and releasing the outdated labels, roles, and scripts that you're living out every day and being and expressing who you are without fear. Your third challenge is to write down one label that you were given as a child or maybe even as an adult, it doesn't matter, that doesn't really resonate with who you are inside. It can be specific, like she's the pretty one, or she's always so disorganized. Or it can be something generic like girls aren't good at math, or everybody in our family is overweight. Put this label on a separate sticky note if you can and carry it around with you. And over the next week, notice how many times that thought comes up. Oh, I can't because. I can't because. We don't do it that way. Because it's pretty amazing when you start noticing it. And you can put a tick mark down every time you notice something. It's amazing how much weight our labels and our roles and our scripts have on us, even though those beliefs really aren't our own, they're somebody else's. The next step is navigate the negative. And what I wanted to preface this step by saying that being connected to your naked self-worth does not mean that nothing bad will ever happen. This is life, it will. But it does mean that you'll be able to handle things when they do go wrong. We're going to start this step off with a spoiler alert that nothing is inherently good or bad. Everything just is. It's just the labels that we assign to it that make them good or bad. If you're on an Alaskan cruise, an iceberg is great. If you're on the Titanic, an iceberg is really bad. The iceberg didn't change. It's just your judgment about it. Navigating the negative means untangling from the drama, from the judgment. It means letting go of the whining and the excuses and just navigating. Your challenge here is to write down one thing that's going on in your life that you are giving way too much attention and power and judgment to. Ask yourself, how can I let this go? And I want you to imagine how much more time, energy, and enthusiasm you will have when you do. All right, the very last step is T, trust in your truth. Your truth is your truth, whether you believe it or not. It's kind of like the flat earth people who believe that the earth is flat. The earth doesn't care if they believe that it's round or not. The earth is round no matter what. And that's kind of how your truth is. It doesn't matter if you're living out your truth, if you believe it, if other people believe it. Your truth is your truth. And if you want a life filled with meaning and purpose, you absolutely must connect to that truth. And when you do, that's when you stop spinning with confusion. That's when you stop being paralyzed with uncertainty because you're clear about who you are and what you're supposed to do. So your last challenge is something I want you to do in less than 5 seconds. So no overthinking. Less than 5 seconds, write down what you wanted to be or do when you were about 6 years old. Good. Now that, for most people, that desire holds the key to their truth. And there's no need to decipher it now. Just write it down and hang on to it because your soul will know what to do with it. So, as promised, now you know the one thing that you need to get your sparkle back. Naked self-worth, and how to find that naked self-worth again. It's through the 5 steps of FLAUNT. The 5 steps of FLAUNT are something that you overlay onto your existing life. This is not self-help. This is not fixing. This is not changing. This is not adding things into your already busy schedule. It's about recognizing and releasing what no longer serves you, so you actually end up with more time than you had before. Connecting to your naked self-worth really is fun. And no matter how broken or overwhelmed you are, no matter how much you doubt that it's going to work for you, you will regain your sparkle. Now, you might be thinking, that works for you, Laura, but it doesn't work for me because you have no idea how messed up I really am. I totally need to fix myself, and I've got to get my life together first. I hear you. I do. But I promise that you don't need to be anywhere near figured out in order to do this, because the number one thing that stops women in their tracks and prevents them from connecting to their naked self-worth and from finding their sparkle is the belief that they have to fix themselves first. This is why the beauty and self-help industries are so huge. They're this huge because everybody has the belief, and they're spending 49.2 billion on beauty things and 13 billion on self-help. So tomorrow I am going to address that belief head on, and I'm going to show you exactly where that belief came from, why it's so prevalent, and how you can maneuver right past it. So watch your inbox for the link to video 2, which is how to stop fixing yourself and how to start living your sparkle, even if you think you are too much of a hot mess. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow.